Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to my big tummy. I am turning 42 by the time this video is uploaded. So, yay! I'm still alive at 42 years old, which is something that I never thought was possible. It's a very bewildering experience, I think, to be in my 40s. My brain hasn't really catch up with it yet, and I don't know whether my brain will ever catch up with it ever. So I have like a few questions that I kind of prepare for myself, which is probably a bit conceited, but better with a guide than just winging it like I usually do here. So the first question that I prepared for myself is like, how does it feel to be 42? As I said before, it feels very weird because I never thought that I would be alive at 42, to be honest. And, or actually, just being alive in general, to be honest. And it's also weird because 42 is an idea that I never really contemplate. I think a lot of people or media in general always concentrate more on like the 20s, where you're in your 20s and your 30s, is basically because that 20-year period is where you become, somebody, you becoming yourself, and it's where most of life happened, I think, in general, where you meet your soulmate, where you meet your partner, where you craft your career, where you build yourself, basically. And for me, that never happened. And I don't know if it will ever happen. Meaning, like, I didn't meet my soulmate, I didn't meet my partner, I didn't have a relationship, I didn't have any career. I basically went to the underworld and became really sick and became basically destroyed whoever it is, the remnant that I was, um, ever existed. And now, kind of being 40s, in my 40s, I just don't know who I have become. I don't really know how to describe myself to other people. So it's a bit weird because I don't particularly have an identity that I can share to people. Like, I can't say, oh, I'm a YouTuber or something like that, because to be honest, I don't make money out of YouTube. So it's still a hobby based on like the ATO tax office and based on adult conversation or adult descriptions, basically. Number two question: is it as you imagined it to be? I think I've answered that. No, because I never really thought what being my 40s and my 50s, my 60s, 70s will be. I do now, kind of, because I been hanging out with 70-year-old and 80-year-old and 60-year-old the past 9 years or something. So I do have an image of what life could be back in that decades, like in the 60s, 70s, 80s. But there's still a huge gap there between the 60s, 70s, 80s. It's like I still have to live through my 40s and my 50s, and that I'm not sure what that will be like. Number three, what would you change about your life? Being 42, what would I change about my life? I think in my 20s or my teen years, maybe I can't really say I would like to change this because the resources weren't there, because the internet wasn't like the way they are now. So it's impossible to redo it the way it was, because resources and knowledge was limited, and you basically are confined to the people and also the books that you have access to. So it's very different than it is now, that if you don't have access to the people around you, like the people around you are not neurodivergent, for example, they don't know anything about autism, for example, they don't know anything about being neurodivergent, they don't know anything about being philosophical, and intellectually trying to conduct like thought experiments for like 10 different topics in your head. You If you don't have those people around you, you don't know that other people beyond the circle of your immediate acquaintances actually do exist, and it makes you feel like you're the odd one out. So isolation is a huge thing. But you don't have that problem now because you can just go on TikTok and find people that are like you. So you are much more both isolated at the same time, but also have more access to people that are like you. But to the question of what would you change about your life, I think if I retain my memories as the way I am now, and I would go back to 20 years before, but I still have the memory I do now. First, I would invest, of course. I would open like a brokerage account and I would work like crazy and just like make a lot of capital seed money and just invest in stocks, right? Or like if you have like enough deposit, just especially in Sydney, because if you're in Sydney, you know how crazy real estate is, and buy like as many properties as you can. So that's what I would do. But if I don't like, so that's the thing, right? Like you have to maintain the memory that you have now in order to make like significant changes in the past. I think if you just go back to the past, but you don't carry the memory that you have now, I think I would just make the same mistake as I did before. But if I have my memories and I go back to the past, on top of the usual capitalistic kind of opportunities that I would definitely take advantage of, I think I would definitely maybe because I think my brain was still kind of working in 20 years ago, sort of. I probably would make a lot of effort to do maybe more academia research, and also eat a lot more and love myself more. Probably that would be the biggest thing, and take care of myself more. I think that would also be the biggest thing, because I think I didn't take care of myself. I wasn't capable of doing it. There was no adult around me. We have to kind of fend for ourselves, and we have to work, and then we have to study, and we have to do everything ourselves. And as a neurodivergent, it burns your system out very quickly. And I did not know that I was a neurodivergent. Autism is not something that you apply to an adult female back then. So I think 20 years ago, when I was still at university, just graduating university, just trying to kind of like grapple with how the world functioned, I probably would rest a lot more, and I would schedule rest. I would not go out as much. I would not socialize as much. I would definitely eat a lot more, like scheduled twice. Like I would probably eat like more frequently, like breakfast, lunch, dinner. And it would be because I have a job, I have study, and doing those regulated meals would help me out basically. And it won't have to be fancy, you just have to be consistent. And if I knew what I knew now, I probably would definitely get myself onto supplements, would definitely get myself onto a doctor straight away, make sure that I have like I don't know, a treat like an ongoing relationship with my GP, whoever it is back then. And like make sure that I would be regulated at least from the physical side of things, so that a lot of the dysregulation came from like the nervous system, and the nervous system usually would respond very well if you take care of your physical side first. So that would be my major thing, to be honest, is to regulate your body, your physical body first, by attending all the nutrients needs that it desired. Make sure it's have low inflammation and have consistency in eating and drinking water, hydration and stuff, and to reduce a lot of physical demand out of my body as well. So just taking care of myself as if that you are someone that you love, not not being too in angst about the world or about yourself or about how things would work out, because hey, 25 years later, things hasn't worked out in the in the economical sense. So fourth question is, what are you looking forward to for the future? I don't particularly have anything I look forward to the future. I feel like my brain is actually pretty okay these days. It doesn't have a lot of noises that is cruel. It's still there, still hovering, but it's not really in my immediate space like it used to be before. Even like 2 3 years ago, it was like right here, all the voices that is attacking and criticizing and very very negative was right here. But now it's kind of like in the atmosphere, but it's not in my immediate sphere, so to speak. So it's a lot less violent and it's comfortable. um but I still am not able to see my future. Maybe this is something that is very common for people who have a lot of passive ideation ever since they're a kid. That people like me who have anhedonia, which is the inability to feel happiness a lot of the times. And if it's up to me though, like what would I would like, what's the question again? What are you looking forward to for the future? Um, if this is a fantasy, it would be a very different thing. Because right now, I don't particularly have anything to look forward to the future. I'm like thinking death would be really good to look forward to the future. I remember like when I was just crossing 40, like 2 years ago, I was basically, the only thing that made me elated was the fact that I basically just got over the hump, like the midlife hump. Because from here on in, every single birthday that I have will push me closer to death. And that is something that was quite elating to think about. It's like, yes, like, oh my God, we are closer to the end. I am so happy. That is like the only thing that kind of like makes me feel happier, because every single year is closer to the end. It's kind of like that's the only wish that I kind of have all my life. And we are heading there. Each day, each year, it's closer. But if I have a fantasy of what I hope like the future would feel like before I meet my death, would be, I don't know, I would like to experience what I have missed out on like when I was in my 20s. Maybe a good community, maybe people who love me for who I am and don't really demand much, just my presence to be around. And maybe in the midst of that community, I would find a person that I would love to be with as well, romantically, life partner wise and stuff. But that's not really the higher priority. I think is much more about the community, like the web of people that I would like to be a part of, and being also hopefully contributing to their lives as well. And, just being that, really just having a good reciprocal relationship with a bunch of people at the community level and at a life level, just like helping out with everyday stuff, not entirely having to do with romance or anything like that, even though that would be a plus. But it's more like, community stuff, feeling that you are okay, you have a safety net with these people, and hopefully those people also have a safety net with you and stuff like that. So that would be a fantasy that I would definitely would like for it to come true somehow, and for it to be a lifelong thing, and to be satisfying in the interaction and stuff. And maybe I'll fantasize about the same thing, which is money, for money to come to me without having too much effort. Also, already being put work into it, that would be great. Like, meaning like making money from things that I already put my work into it, my time into it, energy into it. So it's like having those things to come back to me in a form of financial thing would be great. And yeah, I just have like financial comfort and so that you don't really have to think too much about, what am I going to eat today, how am I going to pay my bills, which is definitely a theme for the past 42 years, is always under this heavy influence of repression, oppression, coercive, you know, control over those resources, which is still ongoing. But I feel my life is a bit detached now. Like the circumstances really hasn't changed at all. But I feel like the personality have detached so much from the circumstances that now, in a lot of ways, I'm kind of waiting for it to happen and for me just to, I don't know, disappear somewhere to the ether. Question: what have you learned so far? What have I learned so far in my 42 years of life? So I think this is, rather than about me, I would like to maybe make a suggestion for other people. Like, what have I learned so far that it will benefit you? Is first is to take care of yourself the way you take care of someone you loved. Like in my case, I remember having someone born, or a decade plus ago in the family, and I really like this baby. This baby is cute, and from then on I kind of make decisions slowly, small things like, okay, if this baby is being treated this way, how would I react to that situation? For example, like, it was a very simple things. For example, I had a rice cooker and it was really dirty, and then this was a long time ago, and the rice cooker was invested with cockroaches, and it's not like directly like the whole machine and stuff, and I was still using it because I was the one that was using it, so I thought it's okay, it's just me, like it doesn't matter. And then one day I realized, I talked to myself as if that, okay, what about if this rice cooker is making rice for this baby? Would I still use this rice cooker if this rice cooker is making rice for this baby? And the answer to that question is no, because I don't want to use a tainted rice cooker that is filled with pests, basically, to feed someone that I love. And when I see it that way, I got rid of the rice cooker. It was still working perfectly. I just couldn't figure out how to clean it from the inside, and how the roaches got invested inside, because they like dark and warm places. So I just got rid of the rice cooker. It's still working, but I just got rid of it and bought a new one. And I know from a common sense perspective, that was like, of course, like, why would you still use it? Like, that's insane, right? Like, that's insane. Why would you still use it? But the reason I still use it is because I was the only one who is using it, so it doesn't really matter. So you kind of can see, like, there is a element of maybe not taking care of yourself, and I think that is important, to take care of yourself, even if it's at the bare minimum. And also making sure you feed yourself, you're making sure you're hydrated, just making sure you are treating your body like a pet, like a pet that you really love. You make sure that you feed it, you make sure it has enough water, make sure it doesn't get overheated by the summer, or you make sure it's warm during winter. And I realized, like, that's something that I didn't really do when I was younger, because I couldn't really figure out how to live life, right? And I still don't in so many ways, but these basic things I didn't even master. So because no one showed it to me, and I think, if you're like me, no one showed it how to take care of yourself, because no one took care of them, for example. I think it's important to show it to you first, making sure during winter you wear warm things. And if you're, low in budget like me, just make sure that you get things that are within your budget, like electric blanket or electric throw blanket, for example, $42 or $30, something that you can find in a bargain, and making sure you're warm, making sure you don't get sick too often. just little things that basically signify to your brain, your animal brain, that you are taking care of yourself. And these things are simple. These things are things that you do every day. And these things are simple things. Sometimes a shower is a good sign that you're taking care of yourself, because you're cleaning yourself. And your body and your brain will kind of pick up on it. Oh, she's cleaning herself, or she's cleaning himself. And slowly it extends out to the things around you, like your room. You start picking up things from your room, making sure it's tidy, making sure it's not always all over the place. And it goes on and on like that. So it kind of starts with you, and then hopefully it spreads to around you, to your environment, and then the people, and hopefully one day maybe the world. You never know where things will end up. So that's what I have learned so far, is to take care of yourself first. Not in a selfish way, but I guess in a loving, nurturing way, which I think it needs to be heard for some people. Especially I probably should be listening to this kind of advice when I was younger. Question: how does mental health impact your life? Mental health is always a theme in my life, I suppose. It's always something that I pay attention to. Um, Ever since I was a kid, I remember like being in seventh or eighth grade, basically saying, I want to be a psychologist. And of course, like ended up in Australia studying psychology, really kind of make a reality hit on you, like, oh, I didn't have enough. It's really hard to become a psychologist, because you have to be really adept at the language. You have to be completing your fourth year, and then your fifth year, sixth year, and then you have to build all of these things. And I couldn't even survive 3 years of major in psychology. It was barely I was barely passing and stuff. So um but back then the word mental health wasn't as prominent as it is now. I think it's a lot more uh fluent now being said. But back then, like, mental health is associated with uh, psychosis, or sickness of the mind, of sickness of the soul. But my mental health, I used to be really a big denier of having a really bad mental health, which is why I went really deep into self-help stuff and self-personal development stuff, almost going into those kind of cult-like basis of conferences and um, seminars. I think that we have a word for it before. It was like a seminar junkie, which means like you go from one seminar to another seminar, like the self-help seminars. And that was kind of like me, my first like 20 in the first, like in the early 20s of my life. And it didn't really lead me anywhere basically, but it does make me feel like as if that I was better than anyone else. I'm not. And that kind of got me through enough of a lot of the challenges that I have had in the past 20 years or so. So it impacts me both positively and negatively as well. Negatively because I feel like I knew more than most people. I don't, and that's kind of stopped me from listening to a lot more practical advice, which I probably should have followed. And it's positive because it basically equipped me with a lot of delusions to get me through like a very bad patch in life, and that was enough. I think like I had like a conversation with a friend of mine that we went to uni together and did psychology together. I basically said, oh yeah, I'm just having very bad depression and blah blah blah, and all she was replying was like, hey, at least you got to apply our psychology education, huh? Like, it's a joke, but at the same time it's not a joke. I don't know. Like, back then it was very different, I think. And life is just going to keep happening to you. How do you live with passive ideation? So if you don't know, passive ideation is basically a state of mind where you think about death, or you are basically maybe going to sleep and just hoping that you're not going to wake up the next day. So it's a very passive thing that someone's have about death or about dying, but have no plans or have no desire to act it out. So they not in the realm of danger in terms of, harming themselves or wanting to unalive themselves. Is more passive. It's more like they're entertaining the idea. They find comfort in the fact that it is something that exists, something that life will make out of them, meaning like life will end one day and they're just hoping it will be tomorrow or tonight, something like really fast, something that is out of their control. So some people hope like tomorrow they'll win $1 million. Like people who have passive ideation just hope tomorrow they're not gonna wake up. It's not entirely correct, but you can Google it, I suppose. I think that's the last question I had on that, basically. How do you live with passive ideation? I don't live with passive ideation. Oh, no. There is a balloon just flew past. That's why I was checking it out, whether it got stuck here or not. I live with it in a very cheeky and tongue way these days. Before, the relationship with this particular ideation was very close. Maybe even up to 10 years ago, I will really wanted to, for the decision to be taken from me and for someone else to make that decision, and definitely going to sleep every day, thinking like, oh, I really wanted to not live. And this is not new. I remember when I was 4 or 5 years old that I also had that thought very clearly. I regretted a lot of times where I'm still alive, sort of things. And these days, I am friends with it. I think I'll be okay if I don't, if I'm not alive tomorrow. I'll be okay with that for sure. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. People like me usually will live very long. It's like a punishment, maybe. So I'm trying to not hope too much about having it come true soon, because it will hurt my feelings. But having that in the back of my mind all the time, I think, is very, I don't know, sad. I'm not sad, I guess. It's comforting to some degree, I guess. What I'm afraid of is life. I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of life, the suffering that it brings, the huge existential dread that comes with each day that it brings. And of course, like, positive people is not like me, right? Positive people is more like, every day is an opportunity for you to shine. Every day is an opportunity for you to change your life. Every day is an opportunity for you to grab on your dreams. Every day is an opportunity for you to change your destiny, your fate. Every day is an opportunity for you to meet your soulmate. Opportunity for you to handle life better, to change the direction of your life. Those are the of how I project positive people attitude. Right? That's how I think of positive people mindset. That's not my mindset. My mindset is like, oh, what disaster is going to come today? Like, I'm always bracing for things to go wrong, even when things are right and it's fine. I guess what I need, if I can make a wish for this particular birthday, is probably the same wish I have had for the past, I don't know, maybe 20 years or so, is the consistent positive outcome to my life, for it to be continually existing and to be continually stressed, meaning it's continually provided, so that the consistency is highlighted every single day, that it's not a fluke, like, positive things do come, and it comes every day, and it comes compoundingly great with time, meaning like it comes, and then it adds, and then it compounds, and it doesn't go away. And I think in a fantasy realm, that's what I would love for me to see in the next 42 years of my life. Maybe I'll die at 84, and 42 is the midpoint of 40. So I guess like that's my wish for the next 42 years of life, is to receive and to have positive things to come and compound and stay and grow. And that's not something that I have had in the past 42 years. So it's fantasy for sure. It's a wish for sure. And do I believe it? No. That's why it's a fantasy. That's why it's a wish. But it's something that I am hoping, if I were to exist continually and not taken away soon, for it to happen. Yeah. So those are the questions that I'm answering today. It's my own questions, but I don't know. Hopefully it makes for something useful for you, I guess. This is 42 for me. I have a lot of fat. This is what 42 looks like. 42. No six packs. Flabby arms. Very disfigured face with a lot of acne scars. A lot of gray hair nowadays. Not young, but not old either. Yeah, for me, I'm still here. I'm still functioning somehow, some way. But this is 42. I'll see you in the next video, everyone.